Hey guys, this is Illusion PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading Insane or Not Insane, That Is the Question by Alright, What Is This In? This is Chapter 2. The apartment was too clean, too bright, too expensive. Jason dropped his duffel onto the hardwood with a heavy thud, the sound echoing through the sleek, open space. The place smelled like lemons and professionalism, real estate agent perfume, not lived-in comfort. Not that he'd expected comfort, he'd chosen it because it wasn't. Uptown, high-rise, concierge, and security parking. The kind of place that said boring professional with too much money. Not former straight kid turned vigilante turned licensed psychiatrist with a vendetta. If any of the bats went sniffing around, this would be the last place they'd look. He told his colleagues he'd be staying with an old acquaintance for the duration of the symposium. Technically true, if you considered the dead past as company. In reality, he was already planning to stay far longer than any professional obligation required, if things went according to plan. He wandered through the apartment with measured steps, taking stock. Neutral walls, dark oak floors, high ceilings, an open-plan kitchen gleamed under the soft pendant light, untouched and sterile. A stack of manila folders sat on the kitchen island. Jason ignored them for now. He told off his boots and let himself sink into the leather couch by the window. Gotham's skyline stretched beyond the glass, jagged and bruised under low clouds. He hadn't missed this place, not really. But he hadn't stopped thinking about it either, especially not since that night. It was raining, Gotham style, thick and mean and endless. The safe house creaked under it, the roof dripping into buckets Jason hadn't bothered to empty. The rage was still burning just beneath his skin, hot enough to blister. He'd stood there, the Joker at his feet, blood sticky on the crowbar. He'd begged, screamed, demanded. Why is he still breathing? Bruce had stopped him, chosen him, again. You can't be judge, jury, and executioner, Jason. He already had been, and for a moment, he'd believed it would change something. But nothing changed. Joker was already en route to Arkham. He'd undoubtedly break out again in a few weeks' time, months if they were lucky. Then he'd be right back to his cat-and-mouse game with the big bat in which Gotham's people were just collateral damage. In which Jason had been collateral damage. His death had changed nothing, meant nothing. He had meant nothing. The Joker had been back out on the streets before Jason's body had cooled in the casket. Jason had left Gotham that night, heart splintered and mind seething. It wasn't until weeks later, in a nameless quiet town buried somewhere in Scandinavia, that he started digging, not into Bruce, but into the Joker himself. He needed to understand. Why? He scoured court records, medical files, psychological assessments. What he found wasn't satisfying. It was enraging. There were no formal documents declaring the Joker legally insane. No court had ever tried him. Arkham was a default. A deferral. Batman said he was insane. Gordon nodded. That was it. No due process, no sanity hearing, no jury. Just Batman's words and a padded cell. It wasn't justice, it was theater, and the Joker knew it. Jason remembered what true insanity felt like. The loss of control, the suffocating fear, the bone-deep regret when it passed. He remembered screaming and not understanding why. Remembered the helplessness. That wasn't what the Joker was, not even close. The Joker planned. The Joker enjoyed. He knew the rules and played just enough not to get disqualified. Arkham was part of the act. A joke with Gotham as the punchline. Jason had stared at the screen, seething, until the room felt too small for him. The Lazarus Pit madness stirred like a living thing, clawing at the edges of his sanity. It coiled in his gut and whispered violence, but this time, he didn't pick up a weapon. He opened a browser and started reading. He read for hours, days. Psychiatry, criminal law, diagnostic criteria, case studies. Quickly, the anger gave way to something else. Something sharper, steadier. He'd grown up in Crime Alley, surrounded by cycles of poverty and violence. He knew what it looked like when people were failed by a system that called itself just. This wasn't just about the Joker anymore. It was about what Gotham called justice. And it wasn't long before he picked up the phone. "What do you know about getting into med school?" he asked, as soon as the call connected. Talia hadn't laughed. That was why he'd called her. Jason sighed and leaned back on the couch. The apartment was quiet again, save for the low hum of the fridge. He exhaled slowly, then reached for his notes for the symposium. The folders were labeled in his neat, blocky print. He triple-checked every slide, every citation. The keynote topic was technical, the criminal mind in a moral world, navigating responsibility and diagnosed offenders. But Jason wasn't interested in the panel debates or the accolades. This was a proof of concept, a warning shot. He closed the folder with a snap and stood, walking towards the window and watching his reflection in the glass. Clean-shaven, curls messy, but in a clean, carefully styled kind of way. The tiredness under his eyes were real, but he looked good. Like someone the public would trust. Someone they'd listen to. The conference was exactly the kind of overstimulating nightmare he remembered. Caffeinated academics, awkward networking, and rooms with bad lighting and worse acoustics. Still, Jason's speech landed well. He spoke clearly, confidently, dissecting the cycle of crime, untreated pathology, and flawed systems. He didn't have to act like he believed it. He did. A few other speakers clustered near the green room. One of them, a short woman with graying braids and wire-frame glasses, clapped him on the shoulder. Fortunately, he no longer flinches at such gestures. "Dr. Todd," she smiled. "That was sharp. You have a gift for making complex topics sound like common sense." Jason returned the smile with the kind of practiced modesty that came with the years of pretending. "Just a lot of practice," he said. "And caffeine." The younger man approached next, suit sleeves too long and eyes starry. "I've read your paper on moral culpability in institutionalized offenders. The one on the Metropolis trial? Brilliant. Would you ever consider collaborating?" Jason nodded like he might. He didn't. He made his way down the hall, through a side exit towards the loading docks, where the night pressed down hard and wet. His thoughts were already elsewhere, on what came next. He was nearly at the exit when two people intercepted him. They looked federal. Black suit, stiff posture, no-nonsense expressions. A woman and a man, both around 40, both with the vague air of people who knew too much and liked it that way. "Dr. Todd?" the woman asked. Jason paused. "That's me." "We're with the federal liaison to the Gotham judiciary," she said. "That's a mouthful." The man stepped in. "We'd like to formally request your expertise on an ongoing case. We need a full psychological evaluation of a criminal defendant currently housed at Arkham Asylum." Jason raised an eyebrow, polite but wary. "And the defendant?" "The Joker," she said. Jason didn't react. He'd practiced that too many times to slip now. "Dr. Todd," the man said. "We'd like to request your assistance." Jason glanced over his shoulder at the conference crowd thinning behind him. Then he looked back and nodded. "Let's talk." Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 2 of Insane or Not Insane, That is the Question by Alright, What's This Then? I hope you guys liked it, and see you next chapter.